Hello, I'm Charles Alcock. 2016 is starting to draw to a close. And what we can already say in conclusion about this year is that it's been another 12 months of, at times, discouraging and somewhat frustrating business conditions from manufacturers of private aircraft. We've seen fluctuations in demand for new aircraft. We've seen uncertainty about how many new aircraft will be delivered in the coming months and going into 2017. And if we look for root causes underlying this uncertainty, we need to pay attention, close attention, to the state of the pre-owned market. Because in many respects, it's in the pre-owned market that we see the core underlying trends that have shaped this continued uncertainty in the new sector as well. The recent NBAA show in Orlando gave us a fantastic opportunity to connect with some of the leading pre-owned aircraft brokers. We were able to probe them very directly on the trends that they see in pricing. We were able to ask them about the guidance that they give buyers and sellers about when it's the right time to make a transaction work. And we were able to find out from them, in their expert view, what sort of factors can help clear obstacles and get the market moving again. Their answers were very revealing, as you'll see.
We actually kind of called this year a little differently. We thought it'd be a very fast start and then slow down as the election sort of mired people in decision making. But quite the opposite. We were a little bit slow in the first couple months of the year, and then it took off. We've been very active ever since.
I would say the pre-owned market isn't that bad in terms of activity. It's actually quite active. I'd say the problems are more deal creativity and deal obstacles are still plentiful, but there's ways of getting around those and addressing them, from upgrades, trades, knowing how to sophisticatedly buy and sell airplanes across borders and so forth. Thanks primarily to the anchor of the North American market recovery, the pre-owned market has actually been very strong. We're actually quite happy to take aircraft for our own account, through trades or through just outright speculative purchases for resales. Year to date, we've done 18 of our own aircraft, primarily driven through trades on other aircraft that either we already owned or our clients owned, and we needed to take an airplane in trade so our client can sell an airplane. That is the biggest obstacle.
I would say since the second quarter of this year, the pace at which deals are getting accomplished has ramped up, and the sense of urgency for buyers and sellers to get together has caused that. Pricing, as we all know, has softened up quite so much, and as a result, there's been some urgency by buyers to buy airplanes. Not in every sector, but in some of them. So there's been more activity in our markets that we primarily deal in the second and third quarter than in the first quarter by a long shot.
This is a very good time of year to buy aircraft. You know, the manufacturers sort of see how their year's going, and I think it's been a challenging year for the manufacturers. So where we've been buying a lot of used airplanes, for the last 24 months, we're out there buying new aircraft as well. There's been so much value in the used marketplace that we focused there a little bit. But you know, right now, the OEMs have been very aggressive in programs, a little bit in pricing.
Pricing is still fluid, and pricing is still generally weak. And that's an advantage to the buying public. And it's somewhat across the board, whether you're considering new or used. So timing a purchase for a client is primarily driven on what do you really need for the foreseeable future. And so what you can say with confidence right now is prices are generally depressed. So a buyer getting in now is still getting in at a relatively safe period of time, new or used. What you can predict is a reasonable level of continued depreciation in values, but now it's far more predictable, and the level of depreciation probably isn't going to change their decision to buy or not. The market has somewhat normalized. The other thing we're seeing is right now, the one strength in the market is a strong US dollar. That's of most value to people that are selling outside of North America, or outside of the US in particular. So European sellers would benefit from a strong US dollar. And we just purchased a Russian 605 for half of what the gentleman bought the airplane from us new. The currency exchange alone, however, actually bought the airplane back to par value.
What I have personally seen, which I found interesting, is that the age of the airplane that someone might consider is now a little bit older than it was previously. People will tolerate a bit older airplane because the price is so compelling in some cases. Whereas historically, the older the airplane, the harder it is to sell. I wouldn't get into the category of very old airplanes, but let's say the differential between a 4-year-old airplane and a 7-year-old airplane, the 7-year-old airplane may be getting more attention than the 4-year-old airplane these days, which is it's an inverse situation to what we're used to seeing.
So at Guardian Jet, we spend a lot of time on when you should buy, on market opportunity. And the only way to take advantage of market opportunity is to really understand the value of your airplane and what's going on in the marketplaces. Right now, we are buying a lot more than we had in the previous 18 months. A couple things we've seen. We've seen the airplanes that got hurt the most post-2008 in terms of residual value, the light jets, the midsize. We've seen that pricing stabilize, and it's stabilized for a year now. So we think that the large cabin came down very quickly in the last 18 months, 24 months, and it's probably going to stabilize right now. We're a little bullish on buying right now, and frankly, we haven't been that way because we've been a little nervous about what's next month's value going to be. But right now, we feel like there's some stabilization going on, and we want to take advantage of it.
The North American market in general, Canada, US, Mexico, extremely strong. A lot of pent-up demand that was not addressed in the downturn. And in the meanwhile, there was still a lot of owners whose airplanes were aging and not keeping up with technology. And rather than addressing the upgrades needed with a current aircraft, now's finally the time to go ahead and order the new airplane or upgrade to the airplane that better solves the design and mission they intend. So what we see elsewhere in the world, though, North America being the staple, I have to say, Asia, a lot of people have said, you know, Asia's slow and there's nothing going on. We're having our best year ever in Asia, and I think the difference is the people we have, but also Asia's learned to buy other types of aircraft, specifically pre-owned. So they've broadened their spectrum with just having been in the business and having operated aircraft more so. I have to say the Middle East for us has actually been a relative bright spot. A couple of our new aircraft have recently traded into the Middle East. So Europe is the world's second largest market. For the foreseeable future, I would envision that to continue to be the case. Right now, more and more of the European owners we see basically right-sizing or exiting, which is why we encourage our North American clientele in particular to really look outside U.S. borders, because there's a lot of very good inventory at very reasonable values outside the U.S.
When the market is falling, this is not a perfect science. So they don't fall at exactly the same time and they don't fall at exactly the same rate. If the advice is, no, we should hold out because this is not enough money for this airplane in today's environment, we'll tell clients to wait. But usually the message in this environment, the way prices have fallen over the last couple of years, is has been a race against time to sell the airplane more quickly. It's a difficult message that people don't like to hear, obviously, but in hindsight, we've made some very brilliant moves for some of our clients.
So that was some of the industry's top aircraft brokers speaking to us in early November. And as you can see, they gave us some very, very revealing and exclusive insights to the trends that they see. But of course, 2016 still has several more weeks to go. And even into the early part of 2017, we face a number of uncertainties. For example, in the US, a completely new administration is due to form a government in the third week of January. And even the brightest economists haven't completely yet made sense of what that might mean for business conditions. Beyond the US, just about every other market in the world faces its own fluctuations, its own uncertainties. And nobody, even these expert brokers, can give us a completely panoramic view of what's likely to unfold in 2017. For that, you'll have to keep coming back to us here at AIN, and we will keep you posted as best we can. For AINtv, I'm Charles Alcock, and thank you for watching.